all the many structures will involve in this. So it is the basically the idea of still Mr. Ashish Kumar Pandey, and he is doing his PhD from Allahabad University. So without any wastage of time, I would request Mr. Ashish Pandey, please start your lecture.
Hello, is my voice audible?
Yes, Ashish.
Sir, I would like, yes, sir, just a minute, sir. I would like to request all the participants, if they have any queries related to any point regarding this lecture, they will put their question in chat box, or please आप अपने आप को म्यूट रखिएगा जिससे कि हमारे स्पीकर ना डिस्टर्ब हो। जो भी यदि टेक्निकल इश्यूज आएगी तो आप चैट बॉक्स में रख सकते हैं। हमारी जो भी टेक्निकल टीम है, हमारे जो भी कोऑर्डिनेटर्स हैं, उसको सॉल्व करेंगे। तो बस इतना बात का आपको ध्यान रखना है। ओके सर, आशीष सर,
Yes.
to you.
Yes, Shashank. Okay. So my voice is audible to everyone?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
So I'm going to present my screen.
Okay.
Okay, so is my screen available to all? Okay.
Yes, Ashish.
So I'm just starting my lecture. First of all, I would like to give you a mild introduction about what I'm going to tell. Initially, I'm going to introduce groups. What basically involves in that definition? We require four things in groups, definition of the group, and what is the importance of each and every condition. So initially I will discuss about that. Later on I will discuss about the beauty of the structure and how we can impose this structure on a set, and later on we will discuss about some specific subgroups also. Okay, so my whole idea is something like that. So introduction to groups and subgroups. So first we'll discuss about groups, its structure, some problems and properties, and later subgroup, its definition, properties, and some classification of some specific type of groups, subgroups of specific groups. Okay, so we will start now. Is my screen available to all of you?
Yes, sir, your screen is available. Sure.
Yeah.
It is visible, sir.
Okay.
You can continue.
Yes, sir.
So first of all, before introducing to groups, first of all we will discuss some basic things, like if we have a set, we need a binary operation. Okay, so first of all, why we need a binary operation? This is also a question which comes to mind. In my opinion, it's somehow, if we are given a set, but what information does the set conveys? For that we need some additional thing. So binary operation is also given, which will convey the information about the element and in particular the set itself. Binary operations. Now the binary operation becomes structure because the binary operation on G is, so there are many x plus x dot x numbers residue
पर प्रॉब्लम
yes Shashank.
Yes, Ashish, you continue.
सर आपकी आवाज में कुछ
No
प्रॉब्लम आ
problem,
रही
no
है।
problem.
आपने
You can continue.
No. Then
Okay.
So if the order of group is greater than 1, then first are also binary operations. If in brief I can say that A composed with B is A for first projection, A composed with B is B for second projection, all set of on power set of that set. So these are few examples. Void. Now we have a binary operation on a set. Now we want to introduce some more thing on that binary operation to study furthermore about that set. So so we are introducing one more property. What is that? A pair G comma O, where G is a set, O is an associative binary operation, is called a semi-group. Okay, so I am specifying the binary operation. It means that the binary operation is associative. It has one more property, that is A composition B, then C, then a semi-group. Associativity is not there. Similarly, Zm plus Zm dot is also C group. Group is greater than 1 is specific. The set of all relations on composition is also a semi-group. Okay. So one can verify, because composition is always a associative binary operation. So, and in particular, the set of all functions, because it is a subset of relation, so it also holds the same property. Okay, so now I am discussing about some, now I have developed the structure that, okay, we are given a set, we are given a binary operation, it has some properties. Now how we will on that set thing, we need just a binary operation and a set, and if left and right identity exists, then they both will be unique. We can verify it. E1 is the left identity and E2 is the right identity. Then E1 composition E2 is E2, where E1 is left identity, and E1 composition E2 is E1 because E2 is the right identity. But you will observe that the left hand side of both equations are same, so they both will be equal. So what we have concluded is that we do not need the group structure for uniqueness of identity. We just need a binary operation, and if this property holds, then identities, left identity and right identity will be same. Okay. So this is the conclusion, that if left and right identity exists, just we need groupoid, then it will be unique. Okay. So this is one property which we can observe. Similarly, a semi-group with identity. Whenever I am saying semi-group, the binary operation is associative, and if that semi-group has this element identity, then it is also called monoid. Just a definition. Now we will observe some properties of the group with respect to some specific type of elements. Like if we have, I am just giving another definition. Let G comma O be a groupoid, and E be the left or right identity of the group of the groupoid, and A be any element in G. Then an element A dash belongs to G is called left or right, whatever the condition is. Left or right inverse of A with respect to E, which is the identity of that groupoid. Then A dash composition A is equal to E, corresponding to left identity, we have left inverse, and corresponding to right identity, we have right inverse. And here I have chosen left or right identity. Okay. So if E is the identity of G comma O, then A dash is also both-sided inverse. So this is the definition. Now again, I am going to analyze what happens on different structures, different sets with respect to such binary operation and such condition. In groupoid, elements may have neither left inverse nor right inverse. Okay. So it is possible, like Z dot. It is a groupoid in which except for A equals to 1 or minus 1, then none of the element has left inverse or right inverse. Here 1 is the identity of that groupoid. Similarly, in a groupoid, there may be element which has left identity or right identity, but not both. Like groupoid, Z with respect to minus operation, minus binary operation. O is the right identity. Any element subtracting 0 from any element remains the same. Then every element of Z is right inverse of itself with respect to O. Every element is the right inverse. So one can check this. In groupoid, left and right inverse may exist. Now, in the first case, we have observed that none of them exist. In the second case, we observed that maybe one of them may exist. In third case, I am saying that if left inverse and right inverse both exist, still they may be different. On the it is contrary to the existence of identity. If left identity and right identity exist, then they may be same in groupoid. But here it is not the case. We have this example. We can construct a groupoid with respect to this multiplicative table as a binary operation. And here one can observe that A composition B is identity, B is working as right inverse, and C composition A is also identity. So C is working as left inverse, but here we know that B is not equal to C. So again, one question arises that what condition we should impose on groupoid so that we get unique inverse. If left and right inverse exist, then they both become unique. So that is where we need associativity. So you can get my point that to make our structure more concrete, more beautiful, we added one more property, that is associativity. So now we need to use associativity, that is they will be same when G comma is semi-group with identity. And we have a very beautiful proof that if A dash is the left inverse and A double dash is the right inverse, then they both will be same. And there is use of associativity. We can check the proof that A dash equals to A dash composition E, because A dash is because E is the identity. Then since A double dash is right inverse, so using that property, and with respect to associativity, the operations, the priority of operation changes, and again A dash is left inverse, so using this condition, we get identity composition A double dash, and which is again A double dash. Hence we have A dash equals to A double dash. So we have the uniqueness of inverse only when we include associativity. So only for those operations which are associative. So here one thing I would like to conclude, that for uniqueness of inverse of an element, we do not need the structure to be grouped. It is sufficient that it is a semi-group with identity. That's enough. Now I come to the definition of my group. That let G comma O be a semi-group where G is non-empty set, then following conditions on G comma O are equivalent. Like first condition, equation A composition X equals to B and X composition A equals to B are solvable for all AB in G. By solvable, I mean that A composition X equals to B has a solution in G. That is, there exists some element in G such that A composition that element equals to B. And similar is the case with X composition A equals to B. This equation and second equation, G comma O has identity E such that every element of G has inverse. So before that, I have just checked the existence of inverse for a specific element. So all three are equivalent conditions. Now, any semi-group G comma O satisfies any one of the above condition and hence all conditions is called a group. So I hope you all will get familiar with the group now. So if the operation is abelian, then it gives one more beautiful structure to the group structure, that is it becomes abelian group. So there are few examples of group, like X plus is an infinite abelian group where X can be any of the following in the set Z, Q, R, C. For each we can get infinite abelian group. X star is also an infinite abelian group for Q, R, C. Zm plus residue class modulo M with respect to addition is also a group. Un star group of prime residue class modulo M, it is also a group, abelian group. Q8 is non-abelian group, Hamiltonian group. Klein's 4 group V4, and for any set non-empty set, the power set with respect to symmetric difference is also an abelian group. So these are few examples. Now, how can we construct? Now we are familiar with the definition of group. Now the question arises: if we are given a group structure, how we can construct new groups? With respect to given structure, how can we construct new groups? So I'm giving two methods. One using two groups, construction of new groups from the existing groups. So we have two groups, and we are defining a binary operation star on G1 cross G2 by A comma B star C comma D is equals to A operation 1, where O1 is the operation of first group, A O1 C comma B O2 D. O2 is the operation of second group. Then G1 cross G2 star is a group which is called external direct product of G1 cross G2. So noteworthy point is here that we are using two different groups, and the new group which is formed is affected by the operations of both the groups. So if both are abelian, then the new group will be abelian. Whatever property they will satisfy, it will affect the new group. Now I am reducing one condition on one set. I mean that we are given a group, and this time not again a group but a set. I have just reduced one condition, that we are given a group and just a set. Then also we can construct new groups. How? Let's see. Gx denotes the set of all maps from X to G. We are considering a set of all maps from domain X to G, and we are defining a binary operation star on Gx by F star G on X equals to Fx composition with G of X. So here maps, images of the composition of maps is the composition of images of map. So Gx star becomes a group, and this binary operation depends on the group structure of given group. Now a very genuine problem, that now we know the structure of the group, how we can construct new groups from older ones, but can we give a group structure on any set? It is a very genuine problem, that can we give group structure to any set? So the answer is also very positive, but for that we need to prove something. So can we define a binary operation on any non-empty set X so that it becomes a group? The answer is positive. But for that we need one result. What is that result? let's see. So let G comma O be a group and F a bijective map from that set to G. We are given any set, and corresponding to that set we are taking a group and considering a bijective map between X to G. Then we are defining a binary operation star on X with the help of bijective map, such that f of x star y equals to f of x composition with f of y. Then this x star y is a group. One can verify that this holds. So for proving that x star is a group, we have to prove clearly this map is a binary operation. So we'll start with the associative condition. So G comma O be a group and X be a non-empty set. I am coming to the proof of the given lemma. X be a non-empty set such that F from X to G is a bijective map. Then we are defining this binary operation. So first we will check for associativity. Clearly f of x star y star z equals to, using the definition of binary operation, f of x star y composition f of z, and again using the same definition, then using the associativity of the group operation, we can just change the brackets. So fx composition fy composition fz. Then again by definition of the binary operation, fx composition f of y star z, and once again using the definition we get f of x star y star z. So from here we can directly conclude that x star y star z equals to x star y star z. Why we are saying this? Because f is bijective, so in particular f is 1 1 also. So in this way we have verified the associativity. Similarly, we can check for existence of identity also using the bijectivity of the map. How? Let's see. So we want our element y such that x star y equals to x for each x belongs to capital X. So x star y equals to x, again operating the bijective map. So f of x star y equals to fx. This composition with so by definition fx composition f of y equals to f of x. Now using the condition of bijectivity, we can directly conclude that y equals to f inverse of E. This works as the identity. In a similar way, we can find out the inverse also. So here we want for any arbitrary element x, we want y such that x star y equals to f inverse E. Again operating the bijective map. So we get fx composition f of y equals to identity. So from here we can conclude that f of y equals to f of x inverse composition with identity, which means on a bit on using the property that f is bijective, we can say that y is f inverse of f of x inverse. So for each x in capital X, there exists an element y equals to f inverse of f of x inverse such that this holds. Hence, we can conclude that x star is a group. So what we have till now, what we have proved, that given any set, obviously non-empty set, we can, if we can find a group and a bijective map between the set and the group, then x star has a group structure. Or we can have a binary operation such that x becomes a group. Now we will check that what happens for finite, if the set is finite, how we can find out that group and the bijective map, and how can we can get the group and the bijective map in case of infinite set. So first we will check the case of finite set. So for finite set, we can always find a cyclic group such that its cardinality is equals to the cardinality of that set. Excuse me. Also, in some cases, if the cardinality of that set is equal to cardinality of some, here I have used cyclic group, you can always find a non-abelian group also, or some other group also. So we can always find, in particular, we can always find a cyclic group such that f from x to zn is a bijection. So in that case, with respect to last lemma, we can form X star as a group. So this is what I have stated here, that we can always find a bijection, say f from x to zn. Therefore, by the last lemma, we can conclude that x with binary operation star such that f of x star y equals to f of x plus f of y. Here plus is the binary operation of that cyclic group. So this forms a group. In fact, it has the same nature what the group has. So we are somehow imposing the nature of the given group onto that set also. So what we can conclude that for any finite set, we can always define a binary operation on X so that it becomes a group. Now challenge is for infinite set. So for infinite set, it is a bit, comparatively it is a difficult task. So to use the lemma, we need two things. First, we need a group, and second, we have to develop a bijection between x and g, where x is infinite set, obviously. So for construction of group, I have used the set of all finite subsets of x. Then I am claiming that this becomes a group with respect to symmetric difference. We have already seen that for any set, power set of x with respect to symmetric difference is group. So associativity of this operation is trivially holds. Excuse me, any problem? Hello? Is my voice clear?
No, sir, it is okay.
Okay. So symmetric. Yeah, hello.
Ashish, please continue, no problem.
Okay. So symmetric difference is associative. We can clearly see that. Now, what I want to check is that whether there exists identity and for each element there exists inverse or not. So here, similar to the power set, we have phi as the identity of this group, and for each element, the set itself becomes the inverse in this case also. So it has the same structure of power set. So we have found the group. Now what we need is a bijection of that set with this group. How can we find? Now I would recall the lecture of Kuster that he must have mentioned about Schroeder-Bernstein theorem, that if we have an injection from set A to B and an injection from set B to A, then there exists a bijection from set A to B. I'm going to use this result also, because we cannot just trivially get a bijection, or we cannot directly construct a bijection. So we will just prove that there exists a bijection. So here we will just go for existence. We are not going to find the exact bijection. So let's see how it will happen. So we are going to prove that there exists a bijection from x and y. So we are considering yn be the subset of y consisting of all subsets of cardinality exactly n. So yn is a set. What kind of set? It consists of all subsets of y whose cardinality is fixed, say n. So corresponding to each cardinality n, we are considering a set which consists of all those sets which have that cardinality, that is yn. Then using this kind of subsets, we can split y into disjoint union of yn, where n belongs to some index set which is subset of natural number. So we have y equals to union yn, obviously disjoint union, and n belongs to some index set. Now we know that for any infinite set, cardinality of xn is cardinality of x. So I think here is some typo. It must be cardinality of x to the power n is equals to cardinality of x. It is also very a good result, but I am not going into the proof of this result. It involves axiom of choice and some more techniques. So I'm just stating it here that cardinality of any infinite set, its Cartesian product, finite product cardinality is same as the set itself. In case of natural number, you can trivially observe that n cross n finitely many times has same cardinality as n. So how we are going to use this, let's see. So I'm going to check the connection between yn, cardinality of yn, and cardinality of x, and using this I'm going to make a relation between cardinality of y and cardinality of x. So let's see how. The number of subsets of x of cardinality n is at most of cardinality x to power n. Why? Because every set with n element can be considered as an element of the Cartesian product xn. So how many elements it can have? So it will be at most cardinality of x to the power n. So from here we can conclude this. Cardinality of yn can be at most cardinality of x to the power n. Now using the first and second equation, we can conclude that cardinality of yn is less than cardinality of x for every n. N belongs to some index set which is subset of natural numbers. Now using the disjoint condition, cardinality of y is the union of yn. Now coming back to this, the cardinality of y is equals to the cardinality of disjoint union, but that will be less than equals to aleph naught times cardinality of x. Here the point to note is that n belongs to index set which is subset of n. So cardinality of index set will certainly be less than or equal to cardinality of natural number, which is aleph naught. So from there we can conclude that it will be aleph naught times cardinality of x. And here I am using x. I am saying that x is an infinite set. So for infinite set, its cardinality will be at least of the order of natural number. It will be at least or even more. It may have higher cardinality also. So its product will have the cardinality of x only, the higher cardinality. So from here we can conclude that cardinality of y will be less than equals to cardinality of x. In terms of the statement of Schroeder-Bernstein theorem, what we can say that we have an injection from y to x. This cardinality statement tells that we can get an injection from set y to set x. Now, what about the injection from set x to set y? It is very trivial. Yes?
Sir, I am not understand जो इक्वेशन है सर उसके ऊपर वाली लाइन समझ में नहीं आई।
ओके, तो कार्डिनलिटी ऑफ
सर कहां से आ गया?
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
n naught sir, n naught
is cardinality of natural numbers, n naught is aleph naught. aleph naught हम cardinality of natural number कह रहे हैं, और जो हमारा इंडेक्स सेट है उसकी कार्डिनलिटी एट मोस्ट क्या हो सकती है? नेचुरल नंबर की कार्डिनलिटी के बराबर हो सकती है, और ये वाइएंस डिसजॉइंट मतलब वाइएंस म्यूचुअली डिसजॉइंट हैं, तो इट विल बी एट मोस्ट n naught times the cardinality of x. So from here we are using this. So aleph naught is the cardinality of natural numbers. Okay?
Yes sir.
Okay. So now for the reverse case, we have to find an injection from x to y. So we can get trivial injection that for each element in x we get a singleton in y. I will recall that y is the set of all finite subsets of x. So singleton is also finite, so it holds. So we have cardinality of x is less than equals to cardinality of y. This is equation B, and hence the cardinality of X is same as cardinality of Y. This guarantees that by Schroeder-Bernstein theorem, there exists a bijection from X to Y. So I'm assuming that the bijection is F. Now our lemma holds for, we are ready for the lemma. We have a group G comma O, where Y is the set of all finite subsets of X, and a bijection. I have proved that there exists a bijection, so I have assumed that there is some bijection F from X to Y. So hence our lemma holds. Therefore, the X star becomes a group with respect to star. And how will the structure will be defined? It will be defined something like this: that F of X star Y is equal to F of X symmetric difference F of Y, where F is bijection, and it becomes a group. You can trivially check. So what we have proved till now, that you can consider any set and you can bring a binary operation such that it becomes a group. Now I am posing an interesting question: can we get a set which consists of all the groups? So I would recall my question that क्या हम एक ऐसा सेट कंस्ट्रक्ट कर सकते हैं जिसमें सारे ग्रुप्स जितने भी आप जानते हो या जितने भी एग्जिस्ट करते हैं उन सबको हम कलेक्ट कर सकें? So the answer is negative. We cannot have a set which consists of all groups. Consist of all groups here means that groups are treated as an element of that set. So it will not follow. Why it will not follow? Because suppose we have a set which consists of all the groups, then certainly, because by the last result, it will be an infinite set. And for infinite set, we can always have a binary operation such that it becomes a group. Now we have a paradox that it is a group, so it must be lying in that set, but the set itself is a group. यहाँ वो सेट खुद भी ग्रुप बन जा रहा है, और सेट की डेफिनेशन ये है कि वो सारे ग्रुप्स को कंटेन कर रहा है. तो दिस इज अ कॉन्ट्रडिक्शन. सो देयर एग्जिस्ट नो सेट which consists all the groups. So it is a very interesting result. So I thought this must be shared. And now one question based on structure, that is I'm leaving it as an exercise for you all. That suppose G comma is an abelian group and C be any element in G. So I'm defining a binary operation star on G such that A star B equals to A operation B operation C inverse. Here star is the binary operation defined such that A composition B equals to A composition C inverse. So composition is the binary operation of abelian group. So first, one must check that is G star a group. If yes, what is its identity? What is its inverse and all the properties? So if it is so, then you will observe that for abelian group, there can be at most that many binary operations such that इसमें इतने binary operation होंगे जितने इस group में elements हैं. So it will have at least that many binary operation which is the cardinality of group. But does it really happen for other groups also? I mean, I am talking about non-abelian, so one can check about that also. So this is the exercise. Some properties, some very trivial properties, that inverse of an inverse will be the element same element. Reversal law for any element, so that is A composition B is A composition B inverse is B inverse composition A inverse for every AB. Cancellation law holds in group. So these are some trivial properties. Law of exponent holds in a group. Now one more very interesting property, that G comma O be a finite semigroup in which cancellation law holds. Then G comma O becomes a group. So for finite semigroup, if cancellation law holds in that semigroup, then it becomes a group. It happens only in finite case. For infinite case, we get a counter example. Say we have n plus. N plus is an infinite semigroup in which cancellation law holds, but it will not be a group. So finiteness is a very important property, and this result is very important in the case, in the sense that for ring theory, we prove that every finite integral domain becomes a field. So there it is also used. We can use this result also. So I am just giving a hint. How can one prove that it is sufficient to show that the equation A composition X and X composition A equals to B has a solution in G for each AB. So I am defining two maps, and one can check that these maps will be surjective. One can check this only. First, you verify that these both maps are injective and prove that they are surjective. And when you will prove the surjectivity, you will get the solutions of these equations. So this is all the for properties of group. Now I am coming to the topic of subgroups. So definition: let G comma O be a group. A non-empty subset H of G is called a subgroup of G if the binary operation of G induces a binary operation on H with respect to which it becomes a group itself. One thing to note here is identity of group and subgroup are always same. This not need to happen for all the structures. One can observe this in rings specifically. So some properties of subgroups. So let G comma B be a group, then a non-empty subset H of G is a subgroup if and only if these three conditions hold. So A composition B belongs to H for each AB in H. Second, identity of that group must be in H. Third, for every element, inverse must lie in H. One more equivalent characterization is a non-empty subset H of G subgroup if and only if A composition B inverse belongs to H for every AB in H. These two are equivalent. One can prove first from second, second from first. Some examples: singleton identity is a trivial subgroup of G. G itself is a subgroup of G. It is called improper subgroup, and rest others are called proper subgroups. So Z plus is a subgroup of Q plus. Q plus is a subgroup of R plus. R plus is a subgroup of C. And for Klein-Spor group, identity E comma A, E comma B, E comma C are all proper subgroups of Klein-Spor. Similarly, these are the subgroups of proper subgroups of Hamiltonian group, and MZ is a subgroup of Z. One can check this. So till now I have discussed about the subgroups, some properties. I have already discussed different sort of things and the structure of groups. Now I am coming to the last topic. I want to classify all subgroups of some specific groups. So in that proceeding, I will start with Z only, the group of integers with respect to addition. Before that, some more properties I forgot to mention. Intersection of families of subgroup is also a subgroup, while for union it doesn't hold. We have an example from Klein-Spor group. E comma A and E comma B are subgroups, but its union is not a subgroup. When it holds if we have an inclusion between the two groups. That is, H1 union H2 is a subgroup of G if and only if H1 is contained in H2 or H2 is contained in H1. And the generalization of the fourth result is the fifth one. Union of chain of subgroups is also a subgroup. So in chain, if we are considering two elements in a chain, then either first is contained in second or second is contained in first. Now coming to my classification. Classification of subgroups of Z plus. Here I am going to use one fundamental property of natural number, that is well ordering property of n. It states that any non-empty subset of n has a least element. I am going to use this here. How I am going to use? Let's see. We know that if m belongs to natural number or 0, then nz is a subgroup of z. One can verify this. I am leaving this as an exercise for you all, that you can verify. We will show that every subgroup of Z plus is of the form mz only, where m belongs to some natural number or 0. So for that, I am considering an arbitrary subgroup of Z plus. So I am just eliminating the trivial conditions, that if H is trivial group, then H equals to 0 times Z, so it holds. So I am considering a non-trivial subgroup. Then obviously, since it is non-trivial, so there must exist some element, non-zero element in that H. And since H is a subgroup of Z plus, so its inverse will also exist. So for R and minus R both lie in H. And we know that among R and minus R, one of them will be positive. So from here we are considering a set. What is that set? The intersection of subgroups and H. H is the subgroup, its intersection with natural numbers. So this set will be non-empty. Clearly, R also belongs to integers. So one of them will be positive, so it will be a natural number. So clearly, n intersection H will be non-empty. So we have this set which is subset of natural number. It is non-empty. So well ordering principle holds here. So n intersection H has a least element. I am saying this as M. Therefore, M must lie in H. Okay, M is the least element in that intersection, so it will also lie in H also. I am claiming that H will be of form Mz. So for that, I have to prove both-sided inclusion, that Mz is contained in H and H is contained in Mz. So first, checking the trivial part, that since M is in H and H is subgroup of Z plus, then clearly M times R, where R belongs to Z, also lies in H. Thus, Mz is contained in H. So one-sided inclusion is done. Now I am checking the second side inclusion. Let H be an arbitrary element of H. Now, since M is a positive element, so we can apply the division algorithm. So by division algorithm, there exists some Q and R such that H equals to MQ plus R, where R can be 0 or lying between 0 and M. Strictly lying between 0 and M. Since H is in subgroup, MQ is also in subgroup. MQ belongs to Z, so it is also in subgroup. Therefore, R must also be in H, because the difference of these two lies in the subgroup. So here I claim that R must be 0. What if R is non-zero? So I'm stating this. That I am claiming that R is 0. So if possible R is non-zero, then R lies between 0 and M. But this says that R is smaller than M and R lies in H, which is a contradiction to the property that M is the least element. We have already stated this, that M is the least element in H. Hence, R must be 0. Therefore, H equals to MQ. This is of the form MZ. So it lies in MZ. And since we have chosen that H is arbitrary element, so H is contained in MZ. Hence, both sided inclusion is done. So this set will be equal. So from here we can conclude that any subgroup of Z plus will be of form MZ. Okay, and we from here we can also conclude that we have a bijection of subgroups with natural number union 0. Corresponding to each M, we have a subgroup of Z. Now, classification of all subgroups of residue class modulo M. I hope you all will be familiar with this group, that these are the elements modulo M, and the operation is addition. Clearly, 0 bar is a trivial subgroup. So I'm just eliminating the trivial case. So I have assumed that H is a non-trivial subgroup of Zm. Then there exists a non-zero element in H. That is, there exists some R which lies between 0 and M, and R bar belongs to H. Using this, I am considering a set which is subset of natural number. How I am considering that S is a set of all R which is in N, such that R bar belongs to H. So clearly I have proved the existence of one such element. So this set is non-empty, and we can apply the well-ordering principle, well-ordering property in N. So by well-ordering property of natural numbers, S has a least element, say T. Now I claim that T divides M. So by division algorithm, I am going to prove this using division algorithm. So there must exist Q and R belongs to Z such that M equals to TQ plus R. Again, the same logic as we have used in the case of Z plus, that R must be 0. I will be using the same logic. 0 bar equals to M bar equals to, I'm just transporting it as an element of Zm. So 0 bar equals to Qt bar plus R bar. So R bar equals to minus Qt bar, which lies in H. Why it lies in H? Because it is a multiple of T bar, and T bar lies in H. Because T is the least element of set S, and T bar belongs to H. Excuse me. Hence, this R bar must lie in H. But for that, R bar must be 0. If it is not the case, that is, if R is non-zero, then R will lie between 0 and T, and R bar lies in H. This contradicts the minimality of T. Hence, R must be 0. Then so in this way we can prove that M equals to some Qt. Now I claim that all the subgroups will be of form this: H equals to 0 bar, T bar, multiples of T bar till Q minus 1. So again, the same kind of inclusion, four-sided inclusion, since T bar belongs to H, so and H is subgroup, so clearly this set is contained in H. So one-sided inclusion holds. Again, I am considering any arbitrary element in H, A bar say, where A lies between 0 to M minus 1. Again, by division algorithm, there exists some L and R such that A equal to LT plus R, where R is 0 or it lies between 0 and T. Now, since A bar and T bar both belongs to H, therefore R bar equals to A bar minus LT bar must belongs to that H by the condition of subgroup. Again, using the same logic that R must be 0, otherwise it will contradict the minimality of choice of T. So we claim that R is 0. Hence, A bar equals to LT bar, where L will certainly belongs to this set. Hence, we have this group H equals to 0 bar, T bar, 2T bar, Q minus 1, T bar. So we what we have proved till now, that every subgroup H of Zm bar is uniquely determined by unique divisor T of M in the sense described above. So for residue class modulo M, corresponding to each divisor of M, we get a unique subgroup. This is what I want to tell here. Corresponding to each divisor, we get a unique subgroup. Now, which I think is very important case, I want to classify all subgroups of real numbers with respect to addition. This is the final case. So let H be a non-trivial subgroup of R plus. Then either A or minus A will belongs to H. So one of them will be positive. Hence, H intersection R plus will be non-empty. Now H intersection R plus, for H intersection R plus, we have two cases. Case 1, H intersection R plus has a least element H. Case 2, H intersection R plus has no least element. So in case of least element, we will follow that same technique of well ordering property. In case of no least element, we will use another technique which requires one more fundamental result, that is Archimedean property of real numbers. What is that property? In a nutshell, I would say that for every real number, there exists a natural number such that n is greater than x. Or in other words, for each x and y positive, there exists a natural number such that ny is greater than x. So I am checking one by one each cases. To case first, we show that h equals to nz, with n belongs to natural number. We are claiming this. So I have chosen an arbitrary element h belongs to h. Then clearly, since h is a subgroup, so its integral multiples will lie in h. So one-sided inclusion is there. Again, natural number n by virtue of Archimedean property of R such that a by h is less than n, or n is greater than a by h. Now, using this property, I am considering a set. What is that set? All those natural numbers such that a by h is less than n. Then certainly I have proved the existence of one such natural number, so this set will be non-empty. So we can apply well ordering property of n. Hence, by well ordering property, it will have a least element m such that a by h lies between m and m minus 1 and m. So this implies this inequality that m minus 1 times h is less than equal to a, which is less than equal to mh. Less than mh. A equals to m minus 1 times h. Suppose this is not the case. Then what happens? That a lies strictly between these two numbers. Also, I have assumed that a is in h, m minus 1 is m minus 1 times h will always will also be in H. This implies that A minus m minus 1 times H lies in H. Okay, by property of subgroup, that if two elements are there, then A composition B inverse also lies in H. If this happens, so using this above inequality, what we can conclude that A minus m minus 1 H lies between 0, strictly lies between 0 and H. And this element is also an element of H. But this produces a contradiction, because here what I have assumed that H is the least element. So this is yes. So this is the contradiction to the supposition that H is the least element of H intersection R. Thus, A lies in NH. A lies in that set H S. The same process can be done for negative A less than 0 also, and by the same process we can conclude this also, that H is equals to NH, where n belongs to some integer, and H is the least element of this H intersection R plus. So it is some integral multiple of some element. Also, one kind of subgroups of R plus will be integral multiple of integers into some number. Now the subgroups of other kind, in that case H intersection R plus has no least element. Then how can we use or how can we classify this? I am using one property that for any two real numbers, I am going to prove that between two distinct real numbers there is a member of H. I am going to prove this. So for that I am classifying it into three different cases. That if we are choosing two distinct real numbers such that A is less than B, then clearly 0 lies between H. So this is a trivial case. Second case is if A and B both are positive, that is 0 greater or equal to A greater than B, then in that case I will prove that there exists some element of H among between these two elements. So how we can find that element? Take epsilon equals to B minus A by 2. Since H intersection R plus has no least element, so between 0 and epsilon there exists some H belongs to that subgroup which is non-zero. Now by Archimedean property and simultaneously, by Archimedean property we can get a natural number such that A is less than equals to NH, and by well-ordering property and using the same kind of set structure which I have given earlier, we can prove that that kind of set has least element, or the smallest natural number satisfying this condition exists. Greater than A. Now it is sufficient to prove that NH is less than B. Then we have NH kind of element between A and B. Suppose this is not the case, that is NH is greater than equal to B. Then we will have n minus 1 times H greater than A. This is a contradiction because this will contradict the meaning of that is n. We have chosen as the n to be the smallest such that NH is greater than A. I am getting minus 1 times H greater than A. So this is a contradiction to the choice of n. So NH will be strictly less than B. Hence, we get an element H which is and lies between A and B in this case. So similarly, if A and B both are negative, using the same process as above, for the case 0 less than minus b less than minus a. So just negating this case, we can have an element of H such that minus lies between A and B. So similarly, if A and B both are negative, using the same process as above, for the case 0 less than minus b less than minus a, so just negating this case, we can always find an element of H such that minus k lies between A and B. So in both the cases, we get an element of subgroup lying between these two real numbers. So what I have proved here is that for real numbers, we have two kind of subgroups. One is the integral multiple of some real number of that kind, and one are dense. Dense in the sense that between two real numbers, there exists an element of that subgroup. Those subgroups such that between two real numbers, there exists some element of that subgroup. So this is our conclusion, that a subgroup H plus of R plus either consists of integral multiples of real numbers, some fixed real number, or it will be dense in the sense that between any two real number there is a member of H. So with this I would like to conclude. Thank you. Yes, Gyanen. Hello, Gyanen.
Yes, Ashish.
Thank you, wonderful.
Yes, I have concluded.
Ashish.
Yes, Gyanen, I have concluded.
Ashish.
Yes, Gyanen, I have concluded.
Okay, so any questions for anyone? Okay, anyone has any questions? So please ask the speaker. Unmute yourself and ask the question. I think no one has any question because the topic was basic and everyone is familiar with the group theory. But the last two results, that characterization of subgroups of R with respect to Barry-Apperson addition was very interesting, and we see how a subgroup is related to real analysis. A group theory, but we have found a subgroup and which is either cyclic or it is a dense in R. So we relate somehow group theory and real analysis also.
Yes.
Yes. Anyone has any question? So okay, thank you, Ashish.
Okay,
for
thanks a
giving
lot.
a nice lecture and very basic and clearing the
One thing
concept
I
of
would like to
group
mention.
theory, especially motivation. And yes, Ashish.
I have introduced all subgroups of Z, and all subgroups of R plus, but I haven't introduced all subgroups of Q. There is a reason behind that. I was
Yes, sir.
expecting this question, but it's okay, nobody asked. But it is very complicated to classify all subgroups. There is some advanced techniques involved, and one cannot very easily classify all subgroups.
Hello.
Yes. Okay, Gyanen.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I have a question. Some
Yes.
basic question. So Ashish, you have said that if we take two subgroups H1, H2 of G, then
Yes.
then their union is also a subgroup if and only if H1 is containing H2 or H2 is containing H1, right?
Yes. Yes.
So in place of 2, if I take 3 subgroups H1, H2 and H3,
Yes.
so can there any condition that is if and only if condition that H1 union H2 union H3 is also a subgroup of G?
That is exactly I have mentioned in the general case. I introduced that union of chain is subgroup. So for any set of subgroup,
No.
its
Yeah,
union
yeah.
will be subgroup if and only if one of them will be contained in other.
No. I am looking for the converse. That is, if their union is a subgroup, is that true that H1 is contained in H2 and H2 is contained in H3?
No, I don't think
Things
so.
like that.
I don't think so. It will be case, but it can be handled in this way that H1 union H2 can be considered as a subgroup if and only if H1 is contained in H2. Then using this H1 union H2 is contained in H3 and H3 is contained in, or H3 is contained in H1 union H2. In that way we can handle, but I think there will be a counter example for that. H1 union H2 union H3. I don't think so
Okay.
that this condition will hold.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else has any question?
थैंक यू सर। सभी ऑडियंस के लिए हमने एक फीडबैक फॉर्म तैयार किया है, तो प्लीज आप उस पर फीडबैक अपना दे दीजिएगा। चैट बॉक्स में हमने उसके लिंक शेयर कर दी है और हम ये फीडबैक फॉर्म अपने टेलीग्राम ग्रुप में भी डाल देंगे, सो दैट आपके फीडबैक से हम आगे कुछ और इम्प्रूवमेंट कर सकें। ज्ञानेंद्र सर, आई थिंक नाउ वी शुड ओवर दिस टॉक।
Yes, okay.
ज्ञानेंद्र सर।
Yes. Okay,
Okay, sir.
okay, close the talk.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.